Out of all the things that the internet can do, there's one important topic I think we should investigate. Money piracy. I think we should talk about this because money is more needed than music or movies. How can we pirate money like music and movies? I mean, it is important to anyone, if not everyone, because I believe everyone in this world has to make a living. That is, everyone should have a way to make some money. And you know the fact that money is scarce. Very scarce. There is this video I was watching the other time, and it was talking about how music and movie piracy became a thing in the late 90s, mainly because of the internet. Files move faster on the internet than they do physically, and files can be copied, isn't that right? The idea is this. If a song is a file, and you can copy it 60 million times, your bank balance is also a file. Well, it can move, and it lives on the internet. I mean, your bank balance is just a number in a database. So does that mean it can be pirated? Just like music? That's the logic. It means there's a possibility that you could copy and paste your salary. Because think about it honestly. Of every file on Earth, that's the one actually worth copying. And chasing that question all the way down takes us somewhere uncomfortable. Because by the end of this video, you're going to see that money piracy is not only possible, it happens every single day at industrial scale, entirely legally. And the reason you've never noticed is that you're the one paying for it. First, we need to fix a misunderstanding you've probably carried your whole life. The idea that money is a thing. It isn't. The note in your pocket is not money. It's a receipt for money. Money itself is closer to a memory. It is society's shared record of who owes what to whom. And every physical form it takes, paper, coins, cards, apps, is just a user interface sitting on top of that record. Economists have described this for a very long time. There's a whole body of literature that treats money as a ledger, a giant communal spreadsheet that we all agree to read the same way. And once you accept that, the piracy question sharpens beautifully. The question was never, can you copy a banknote? The real question is, can you edit the spreadsheet without permission? People have been trying ever since the spreadsheet was made of metal. You see, the analog version of money piracy is counterfeiting, and humanity has made an enormous effort to stop it, to make it difficult for an ordinary person to counterfeit money at a convincing level. In the era of silver and gold coins, the great crime was clipping. The act of shaving a sliver of precious metal from the edge of each coin, spending the coin at its full value, and then melting down your growing pile of shavings. If you became successful at doing that a few thousand times, you'd have minted yourself a fortune out of other people's money. The defense against it was ingenious. Authorities began patterning the edges of every coin so that even the slightest shaving became instantly visible. That solution was rolled out in England during the Great Recoinage of the 1690s, supervised, as it happens, by Isaac Newton at the Royal Mint. Newton didn't just oversee the redesign of the currency. He also personally hunted counterfeiters through the streets of London in an effort to stamp out counterfeiting. This was a huge effort. Then they started making paper money. That's when watermarks, security threads, microprinting, and color-shifting ink were introduced as security features. This kind of protection still exists today in virtually every government in the world. It's called anti-counterfeit security. And here's my favorite part of the whole story. If you try to take a banknote to a modern photocopier or scanner, well, don't do it. It's a serious crime. But hypothetically, the machine will often simply refuse to copy it. There is a specific pattern of tiny printed circles hidden within the design of most major currencies, and photocopiers, scanners, and image editing software have been built to recognize that pattern and shut the job down. Nobody advertises this. It's just secretly built into the machinery of the modern world. The money is watching you back. But notice what all of this actually protects. Counterfeiting doesn't edit the ledger. It forges the receipt. It creates a fake claim on a real record. And that's precisely why it stays relatively small. The ledger has an immune system, and it becomes extraordinarily difficult to edit that ledger if you are not authorized. Historically, England classified counterfeiting as high treason, not simple fraud, and punished it accordingly. Because faking the money isn't merely theft from another person, it's an attack on the state's single most profitable monopoly. Hold on to that word, monopoly. We're coming back to it. Now for the digital version, which is where the story gets properly strange. Because digital money should be trivially piratable. After all, it's just a number in a database, and we live in the golden age of copying numbers and almost anything else on the internet. But watch what actually happens when you send money through your banking app. Nothing actually moves. No file travels from your phone to anyone else's. What you're really doing is sending an instruction. Your bank reduces one number on its ledger and increases another. And if the recipient uses a different bank, the two banks settle the difference between themselves on a deeper ledger held at the central bank. At no point does an object change hands. This is simply a matter of subtraction and addition. There is no movement of tokens whatsoever. The truth is, your bank balance is not money, and you've probably never touched money in your life. The bank simply gives you a login and a claim. That's your password to the numbers recorded in your account, which means your bank balance is not something you physically possess. The bank maintains the ledger, while you have permission to instruct it to change the numbers. And in this case, subtraction means spending. And that entire architecture exists to solve one specific nightmare, the double spend problem, which is the exact technical reason money could never be pirated the way music was, and still is. When you copy a song, the original stays exactly where it was. Copying music is multiplication, and both parties end up with something. But money only works if spending is subtraction. If I could duplicate a digital coin, I could pay you and still keep it, then pay someone else with the copy. Within a very short time, the entire system would collapse because money would lose its scarcity and become less valuable minute by minute. So, throughout the history of digital finance, the solution has been remarkably simple. Appoint a referee. That referee is the bank. Its version of the spreadsheet is treated as final, and its arithmetic is accepted by everyone. That referee is why your balance is safe. It is also why your account can be frozen, monitored, or reversed, because the referee protects the ledger, not you. Now, something happened in 2009. An anonymous developer released a digital token called Bitcoin. And whatever you think of the circus that grew up around it, the underlying achievement was something extraordinary. For the first time, humans built a digital record that couldn't be duplicated without a referee. Order and scarcity were enforced by mathematics and an absurd amount of electricity instead of by a bank or any other institution. The double spend problem had been solved in public, given away for free, by someone who then vanished entirely. Say what you like about crypto. That's an exit. And here's the deeper lesson in all of this. Music piracy worked because, with music, the file is the good. Copy the file and you have the thing. With money, the file is worthless. The number isn't the money. The agreement about the number is the money. You can copy a digit as many times as you want. You cannot copy the consensus that says it belongs to you. Which brings us to the turning point, and the actual point of this video. Everything I've described so far, the milled coins, the photocopiers that refuse to copy money, the settlement rails, the referees, all of it exists to stop you from editing the ledger. But what about the people who hold the pen? The ones who decide what numbers appear in your bank account? In 2014, the Bank of England published a paper in its quarterly bulletin confirming something that contradicted what most economics textbooks and even some money gurus had taught for decades. Commercial banks do not lend out money that savers deposited. When a bank approves your loan, it doesn't go and fetch someone else's savings, load them into a courier, and transport them into your account. That doesn't happen. Instead, the bank simply types a new number into your account while simultaneously recording your promise to repay as an asset on its own balance sheet. The deposit is created at the very moment the loan is made, out of nothing more than a keystroke and a contract. New entries written into the spreadsheet by the institutions that own the spreadsheet. In a modern economy, the overwhelming majority of all money in existence, around 97% of it, is created this way. It isn't minted, it isn't printed, it is typed. So let me ask the question again. Can money be pirated? It is being pirated. Constantly. Lawfully. You see, the difference between the counterfeiter and the system isn't the act itself. Both create new claims that dilute every existing claim. The difference is permission. The counterfeiter goes to prison because he is competing with a monopoly. And monopolies defend their product. There's even a formal term for the profit a state earns from creating money. It's called seigniorage. And there's a fee for all this legal piracy. It's called inflation. When new money enters the pool, every unit you already hold commands slightly less of the world, which means the cost is paid invisibly, and often proportionally, by everyone holding money. But it's worse than just everyone, and this is the part worth understanding. An economist named Richard Cantillon worked it out in the 1700s, and the idea has carried his name ever since. The Cantillon effect says that new money does not arrive everywhere at once. It enters the economy at a specific point and then spreads outward slowly, which means whoever receives it first gets to spend it at yesterday's prices, buying assets before those assets reprice. Meanwhile, whoever receives it last, often through wages that adjust slowly, arrives at the shop only to find that everything is already more expensive. Same currency, same policy. Yet a systematic transfer takes place from the far end of the pipe to the near end. Nobody stole anything. The order of arrival did the work. When new money enters the system, it starts here and ends there. And this is one reason why people constantly complain that things get more expensive year after year. Now, if you want to see this mechanism with the safety switch removed, look at Zimbabwe in 2008. The money supply expanded so aggressively that money itself began to lose its meaning. Prices changed so rapidly that people rushed to spend cash as soon as they received it, because waiting even a short time could dramatically reduce its purchasing power. At that point, the problem is no longer that money buys less. The problem is that money stops functioning as money at all. So let's bring this all together. Money cannot be pirated from below. The ledger is armed. The photocopier will reject you. And the double spend problem stands guard at the digital door. But money can be expanded, routinely, structurally, and legally, from above by those who sit close enough to the ledger to write on it. And the dilution tends to land hardest on those furthest away from the point where that new money enters the system. That's how the system is designed. And you should understand the architecture of the thing you spend your entire life collecting. The counterfeiter and the ledger writer appear to perform a similar operation. Both create new claims. The difference is that one of them has permission and the other does not. And the whole game, the one this video has been circling from the beginning, is that your position in an economy is shaped in part by your distance from the source of money creation. Those closest to that source often benefit first from newly created money, while those furthest away tend to feel the effects later, frequently through rising prices and a reduced purchasing power. You can't copy money, but you can pay attention to who creates it, how it enters the system, and where you're standing when it does. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.